Good evening, YouTube. Wanted to go over a pair of knives I've got here, and the first one, you've seen me talk about this one before. This is the Cold Steel Finbear, and I've had this for a while, and as you can see, it's been used. I've done quite a bit of work with it since I got it last fall. I cut up a couple of deer with it that were, both deer were given to me, and it made short work of both. This thing did a much better job than the Smith & Wesson skinning knife I'd actually bought for that job. This knife is extremely sharp. It still has an excellent edge. I haven't touched it. I haven't needed to. But there's some people advertising this as a survival knife. This is not what I would consider a dedicated survival knife. I don't have the overall specifics right here in front of me as to the length of the blade and the overall. I will get them, however. But the blade is Krupp steel, and it is made in Germany, and it is assembled in Taiwan. And it has a very different grip on it. And most, some people like this. I don't have a problem with that grip. Some people really are not comfortable with it. I can't say how everybody's going to take it because not everybody has the same size hand. The sheath itself is not the greatest. But, I mean, again, this is a $13 knife. That's what I paid for it, and that's included shipping. It's just a very simple nylon sheath. But what I will say about it is that it does hold fairly well in there. It's got a nice fit. I mean, you can... I'm not squeezing down on that. I'm not pinching down on that. That's not going anywhere. So, again... It's not bad for the money, but you have to understand it is not a dedicated survival knife. I wish the edge was a little more beveled here for using on a fire steel. I have tried it a couple of times. It will work, but it is not as good as it should be for some knives. But again, this is a $13 knife. This is the perfect knife to throw in a pack, carry it, and not worry about it. Put it in a vehicle somewhere if you have a kit in your vehicle. And not worry about it. I mean, for some reason you'd hate to see anything stolen or anything lost, but at least you're not out a ton of money. This type of knife, you buy a couple of them. Buy one for every pack or for different vehicles, whatever. This is the perfect knife for it because it is cheap, it is expensive, but it does work. But again, it's not a dedicated survival knife. I wouldn't use it as one for basically like a backpacking knife or a bushcraft knife. Yes, this would be pretty good. I wouldn't say as a dedicated everyday survival knife, but if you're going like camping for a weekend, this would not be bad. This would be ideal. It's definitely better than some of the more expensive knives that are out there. Dedicated survival knife, U.S. Air Force Ontario survival knife. I've had this for quite some time. As you can see, it's been used heavily. And I truly, truly love that knife. If I have one knife that I would take anywhere, grab anytime for just to go out and know I could survive with it, that would be it. $50. Okay, and as you can see by the blade thickness, this is a very tough knife. As far as batoning goes, the only problem I have is because this is sharpened here, you are most likely, whatever you're batoning with is going to get beat up pretty bad. I've done it a couple of times, and it's not too bad. I really haven't gone through all the paces with this knife. I'm going to do more with it this year, and hopefully I can share those videos with you when I get them done. But 5-inch blade, and it's not as big as like some of your K-bar fighting knives or some of your bigger knives, but you know what? You really don't need it. This mentality, you need a gigantic knife to survive with. If you want something like that, grab a machete. Grab a machete. This is a knife that you can, it's small enough that you can gut an animal with, field dress like a deer, still baton, still do some very good work with it, and not, have to worry about taking your arm off, because it's too big. It's also very comfortable to carry. And as far as being sturdy, this knife is as sturdy as it gets. I mean, again, $50. It is a far better knife for the money, then you're going to see most of them out there. Now, this is the sheath. As anybody has seen the sheath before, they know it's pretty well decked out. I don't have my small compass on there today, but everything else is normal. That's normally would expect to see is here. I have quite a bit of paracord, my ferro rod, strike anywhere matches. Of course, the sharpening stone that it comes with. On the back there's some fishing line in here, some hooks, even I swapped out the little P38 can opener for a bigger P51, and up here are a few sinkers that I keep handy with me. And everybody's like, gee, you got a lot on there. I mean, but you really don't notice it. I've carried it, I've walked around with it. You do not notice all this, and there's a lot here. There's a lot here, and you can use everything that's on here is good for survival. Everything, you don't have to carry it in anything else. So again, as far as a survival knife, dedicated survival knife, no. But for $13, can you certainly go wrong as a bushcraft knife for a couple of, like a hike on the weekend, or even, maybe longer. But I would understand that this knife does have its limitations. But it is sharp. It's very, very sharp. Extremely sharp. And it seems to have held its edge very well. I've used this quite a bit for cutting up quite a few different things, and it's held its edge remarkably well. But if you want a dedicated survival knife, this is something you want. The Air Force survival knife has been around a long time, and you don't see it advertised as much as you used to, and I think the reason why is it's not shiny. It's a basic survival knife. But for $50, you cannot go wrong. You can still get them online for $50. It's a good knife. It's a good American, and that's the best thing. Guys worry about their knives being made in China or being made overseas. This is still an American-made knife. Ontario, they're still good quality, and you see it on there. They're still a good quality, tough built knife. You cannot ask for better, especially for the money. I've seen survival knives go for a lot more. Now, somebody asked me about how this survival knife here would compare to the Bear Grylls knife that GC offered for about the same price. I don't know. I have not tested the Bear Grylls knife yet. I really don't have the money, the $50 I want to just drop on that knife just to give it a whirl. I mean, if somebody wanted to let me borrow one, I would certainly compare it to the Air Force survival knife. I would see how it worked. But I've seen a lot of really harsh reviews on the Bear Grylls knife, and I'm not sure the exact name on it, but it's a chrome bladed survival knife. And one of the things I don't like about it is it is made in China. And there have just seemed to be especially when they first came out, there were a lot of problems with that knife. And it seems it's more product placement than anything else. And granted, I have the utmost respect for Bear Grylls. That man does things in places that I can't even dream of. But that doesn't make the knife any good. At least not the one that Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart selling. Again, I haven't tested them. But going by some of the reviews I've seen of them, I have not seen a lot of great reviews on it. But I would like to put it to test. I mean, if I had one, I would certainly give it a whirl. But if again, for me, if I was to need a survival knife and want to grab one right away, right now, this is it. So between these two knives, YouTubers, you cannot go wrong with this for $13 or $14 for get 2 or 3 of them for a good bushcraft knife, for a good camp knife. Even a good hunting knife. This thing will do wonders on game. This, as far as a survival knife, I don't think you can beat it for the money. I really don't. So there are those 2 knives, YouTubers, and I hope to bring you more different gear reviews. And this is just an overview. I'm definitely going to start trying to do more with it, with the equipment. So have a good night, YouTube.